the Syrian desert, a place of harsh beauty, a land of scorching sun and freezing nights. It was here, in the oasis city of Palmyra, that a legend was born. Her name was Zenobia. Zenobia was born sometime around the year 240 AD. They say that she was descended from Cleopatra, the last pharaoh of Egypt. Zenobia inherited a legacy of power, intelligence, and beauty. She grew up surrounded by the splendor of Palmyra. It was a wealthy city. It was a crossroads of the silk trade between the Roman Empire and the East. Zenobia learned about different cultures and languages. Her mind was as sharp as any sword. She could ride a horse and hunt like the best warriors. But she was more than just a skilled warrior. She was also incredibly beautiful. Zenobia had piercing black eyes and long flowing dark hair. People were drawn to her charisma. They said she had a voice that could command armies. This was Zenobia, the future queen of Palmyra. She was a force the world would soon reckon with. Zenobia was not content with just being a princess. She was hungry for knowledge. She devoured books like they were delicacies. Zenobia could speak Aramaic, Greek, and Latin. She immersed herself in philosophy, history, and literature. The works of Homer and Plato were her favorites. Her education wasn't confined to the walls of a palace. Zenobia would often accompany her father on diplomatic missions. She met with ambassadors and rulers from different lands. She learned the art of negotiation and diplomacy. She observed how power worked. As Zenobia blossomed into a young woman, her intelligence became legendary. Scholars and philosophers from all over the world traveled to Palmyra to meet her. They engaged in lively debates on philosophy, politics, and art. Zenobia often outwitted her older, more experienced counterparts. Her thirst for knowledge, combined with her natural charisma, made her a formidable presence. She was not just a pretty face. Zenobia was a woman of substance and intellect. She was ready to lead her people into a new era of prosperity. When Zenobia was in her late teens, she met a man who would change her life. His name was Odenathus. He was the commander of Palmyra's army. Odenathus was a skilled warrior and a shrewd strategist. Their connection was immediate. They were drawn to each other's intelligence and ambition. Their marriage wasn't just about love, it was a strategic alliance. Together, they would rule Palmyra as equals. They shared a vision for their city-state. They wanted to make it a dominant power in the region. Odenathus recognized Zenobia's sharp mind and her talent for strategy. He often consulted her on military and political matters. Zenobia proved to be an invaluable advisor. She accompanied him on several military campaigns. She rode alongside him, her courage inspiring the troops. The people of Palmyra saw the love and respect between Zenobia and Odenathus. They were a true power couple. They were the sun and the moon, ruling the sky together. But their reign, like all things, would be tested. Fate, it seemed, had other plans. The Roman Empire was in turmoil in the year 267. Emperors rose and fell like the tides. Odenathus saw an opportunity to expand Palmyra's influence. He had successfully defended the eastern borders of the Roman Empire from the Persians. Now he set his sights on consolidating power in the region. Zenobia fought alongside Odenathus, her courage and tactical brilliance becoming legendary. She was his equal in every way, her presence bolstering the morale of their troops. They were an unstoppable force, their love for each other and their city fueling their ambition. But tragedy struck. Odenathus and his eldest son were assassinated. The details are shrouded in mystery. Some whispered of betrayal, others of a power struggle within the empire. Whatever the reason, Palmyra was left reeling. The sun had set, leaving the moon to light the sky alone. Zenobia was devastated by the loss of her husband and partner. But grief did not cripple her. It ignited a fire within her. She would not let her husband's legacy wither. Rather, she would rule Palmyra in her own right. Her heart set on securing her son's future and the future of her people. Now regent for her young son, Vabalithus, Zenobia faced a challenge. She had to consolidate her power and prove her strength to both her people and her enemies. Many underestimated her. They saw her as merely Odenathus's widow. They would soon learn their mistake. Stepping out from the shadow of her husband, Zenobia took charge. She possessed a keen intellect and a strategic mind. She understood the power of alliances and diplomacy. And she had a secret weapon, a brilliant advisor named Longinus. He was a Greek philosopher and a man of great learning and wisdom. He was called a living library and a walking museum. He became Zenobia's most trusted advisor. Some say he was the mastermind behind her military strategies. Others believe he was the architect of her cultural reforms. Together, Zenobia and Longinus embarked on an ambitious plan. They would transform Palmyra into a beacon of culture and learning. They invited scholars, artists, and poets to the city. They built libraries and universities. Under their rule, Palmyra flourished. With Longinus by her side, Zenobia began to assert her authority. She knew the Roman Empire was weak and divided. She saw an opportunity to expand her own territory and launched a series of military campaigns. She aimed to secure Palmyra's independence and create an empire of her own. Her armies, led by her loyal generals, swept across the region. They conquered Egypt, Syria, and parts of Anatolia. Zenobia's empire stretched from the Nile River to the Bosphorus. She became known as the Queen of the East. Zenobia's reign marked a flourishing economy. She understood the importance of trade and protected the trade routes that passed through her territory. She minted her own coins and even dared to put her own image on them, a direct challenge to the authority of Rome. The world watched in awe as Zenobia, the warrior queen, reshaped the map of the ancient world. She was a symbol of defiance against an empire in decline. But her rise to power would not go unchallenged. The Roman Emperor Aurelian was not pleased with Zenobia's defiance. He had reunited the western and eastern halves of the Roman Empire. Aurelian was a formidable warrior and a ruthless leader. He would not tolerate any challenge to his authority. In 271, Aurelian turned his attention to the east. He marched his legions towards Palmyra. The two armies met in Antioch. Zenobia, leading her troops from the front, fought bravely, but Aurelian's legions were too strong. The Palmyrene were defeated. She retreated to Emesa, then back to Palmyra itself, hoping to make a final stand within her city's walls. But Aurelian was relentless. He besieged Palmyra. The siege lasted for months. Food and water were running low, and Zenobia knew she was trapped. In a desperate attempt to escape and secure an alliance with the Persians, Zenobia fled the city on the back of a camel. It was a daring escape, but fate, it seemed, was not on her side. She was captured near the Euphrates River. Her dreams of an independent Palmyra dashed against the rocks of defeat. But he brought her back to Rome as his captive. She was paraded through the streets of Rome in chains, a spectacle for the Roman people. It was a humiliating end for a queen who had once commanded respect and admiration. Longinus, her trusted advisor, was not so fortunate. He was accused of inciting rebellion and executed. The fall of Palmyra and the loss of her closest friend broke Zenobia's spirit. She seemed to age overnight, the fire in her eyes extinguished. But even in defeat, Zenobia carried herself with dignity. Her spirit was not completely broken. She learned to navigate the treacherous waters of Roman politics. Aurelian, impressed by his former enemy, granted her a villa near Tivoli. There, Zenobia lived out her days as a Roman matron. Zenobia's story is a reminder that even the most powerful empires can crumble. It is a story of ambition, courage, and the fleeting nature of glory. But above all, it is a story of a woman who dared to challenge the might of Rome, and who, for a brief time, carved her name into the annals of history. Thank you for watching. If you found this video beneficial, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Traudastoria to continue learning from the annals of history.